Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Major Push Wrestling Talk Show Podcast, where we give wrestling the major push that it deserves. This is episode 15. My name is Gino. We are joined today by C-Rod and Sonny. C-Rod, how you doing?
Doing well, brother. Good to be back. I know it's been a few weeks. Excited to get into the topic today.
Let's do it. And Sonny, welcome back as well. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. It's been quite some time since I've been on, so I'm happy to be here. Happy to be excited, man. Ready to roll.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like this excitement is going to be short-lived because we are here to kind of give you guys a free form style conversation about, yes, there's wrestling, but more about TKO and what's been going on with wrestling as a whole since this has kind of happened with TKO's and ESPN's first major event was here. Obviously, TKO has been in charge for a little while, but this is really the first that it's like we're really feeling it more than anything, I think. So we're going to get right into it. So this past weekend, we had a counter programming event from ESPN and WWE where we all thought it was going to happen at the beginning of the year. And then they kind of dropped the bomb on us that, oh, in less than a month, we've got an event and you're going to have to buy a whole new app that doesn't even exist yet. So we're going to make the app 2 weeks prior, and then we're going to use our last show to explain to you how to get it and still not give you all the options on what to do and how to get it. Fortunately for me, I have a VPN and everything is on Netflix in Canada, including NXT. So shout out to our top hat. And then there's that ESPN app for $30 a month that if you're a real sports fan, you're not clicking on anything WWE. And if you're a WWE fan, chances are you're not clicking on anything, any other competitive sports, and you're probably not opening the app again as a whole until next month. So we got a lot to unpack here. We're going to give you guys the opportunity to break down or talk about the matches, whatever, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, whatever. Guys watching in the comment section, share us all your thoughts. We look forward to seeing all of them, and we will respond to as many as we can, if not every single one of them. Now, TKO, we know they own UFC, we know they own WWE, and it's never really been more evident than there was with this new model of pricing. Now, keep in mind, I got it for free, and whether I got a VPN or not free, through the cable, but I had to do some digging. You have to authorize and blah, 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 blah. And I was getting pretty nervous that even though it's offered to me, I wasn't going to be able to have that. Now, the issue then becomes is UFC is no longer a pay-per-view model anymore since they got that deal with Paramount Plus. So UFC has been pricing its, let's call it what it is, their interesting fan base out of the market. And WWE has been so underselling what they've had for $10 a month, $7 a month, $12 a month, whatever. And now it's kind of flip-flopping, like where there's more crossover between UFC fans and other competitive sports. There's less crossover with WWE and other competitive sports. So and keep in mind, this is all happening in the United States. If you're in Canada, if you're anywhere else in the world that has streaming services, you're getting it basically all on Netflix, or you're not having to worry. So it just feels like being a wrestling fan in the United States right now is like we're being punished. And same thing goes for football, right? You got to have Prime, you got to have NBC, you got to have CBS, you got to have Fox, you got to have ESPN. Used to just all be on cable and stuff, but now it's like, bro, I don't even like. You got to have 6 different apps just to watch a week's worth of football. That used to be you just had cable. So we're not here to necessarily talk about how the cable model is basically transitioning back into cable model with more on-demand services and stuff. But TKO, they thought it was a good idea to have Cena lose to Lesnar because he's more of a competitive sports guy, I guess. And they had Cody Rhodes win against Drew McIntyre because Cody's more of their golden boy. And these things that are leading now into Crown Jewel, which isn't even in a kingdom, so there's no crown involved, and now it's in Australia, and they're doing champions versus champions when Survivor Series is supposed to be that, and it's 3 weeks after, and now Survivor Series is melded into War Games. Now we got last minute announcements, things on social medias with Cena and AJ Styles. We've got stuff like, oh, you got to watch the pre-show to figure out that there's a special guest referee and not be confused if you sat down at the start time that we told you the event was starting. It's going to turn into Rantapalooza, I feel like, and I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to announce this. But we also did get Stephanie Vaquer winning the title, and that is something that actually fans do want to see. So we're getting dangled that carrot of one thing that we wanted to see, and all this other stuff is frustrating for sure. So I know you guys have thoughts on it. I'm going to throw it over to Sonny. You've told me off air, but I look forward to hearing on air. Like, this kind of stuff and the way they're seemingly treating the fans has kind of been a turnoff for kind of both companies, AEW and WWE. So what are your thoughts on what happened this weekend and what it seems like our future is going to be like?
Oh, man, I feel as if they're talking about price gouging left and right. I mean, I understand it's a company. They want to make the most money that they possibly can, but at what point are they really just saying we don't care about our fans anymore? We're talking about somebody shared in one of our group chats that we're in that the nosebleed section for the WrestleMania 42 starts off, I mean, for both nights at $800. And that's a single seat. That's a single seat. So a father who wants to take his kids to go see wrestling, or if you have more than one kid and you want to take your family to this, I mean, and I understand so many other sports entertainment or like football, baseball, everything's getting priced more and more and more now. But wrestling to its core is somewhat geared towards children. It's geared toward a younger crowd. So if you have somebody who wants to share that WrestleMania moment, because now he's old enough to take his kids to go see WrestleMania, he's got to pick, okay, which one's my favorite? Which one is going to get to go see WrestleMania with me? I remember a couple years ago, I went to go see WrestleMania 36 when it was here in town. 36, yeah, 36 was the one that post COVID, right? Either way, it was the one in Tampa that post COVID. And I think I was able to get 3 seats for night two for under maybe 600, $700 in pretty good seats too. I mean, obviously they still had somewhat social distancing because of COVID, but I got good seats. Were able to see the wrestlers. We didn't need binoculars to figure out who was in the ring for a decent price. Now everything is just absolutely astronomical. And then when you go into, if you want to watch all these, you have to, like you said, buy all these different programs. And back in the day when you and I were growing up, we had pay-per-views every month and they were like 40, $50. So that was a little bit expensive, but you paid one thing and then you got to see Monday Night Raw, you got to see Thursday Night SmackDown. If you wanted to see, Saturday Main Event, you could see all those just on your regular cable, like, on your basic cable networks. Now everything is just absolutely astronomical on all that. So as far as money wise, I feel as if it's very greedy on them, and I understand that they want to make as much money as possible. But at a certain point, I don't know if it was in our group chat or if I saw it online, but there was somebody, I want to say the headboard of TKO was talking about how Vince McMahon, for all of the negative things, negative light that he has, Vince McMahon wasn't capitalizing on the ticket prices. He said that Vince McMahon was still pricing for the middle class family, and that wasn't maximizing their profits. Well, I mean, that's exactly who is watching this. That's who's watching these wrestling events. It's a middle class family who just want to watch good entertainment with their kids. And I understand, if you got to pay $30 a month for the pay-per-view, but you shouldn't have to buy this subscription, that subscription. I mean, when they had the $9.99 WWE Network, that was peak. That was pinnacle. I got to watch everything in their catalog, and then I got to see all the pay-per-views. I mean, I wish we could go back to that, but I mean, obviously the times are changing, and the dollar is king. They are going after the dollar. They don't care about the fan. They care about their shareholders. They care about the dollar the most. And it's really troubling as somebody who watches this and just, I don't know. It I guess that emotional connection with some of these characters, I just don't get anymore. It's just, I mean, there's a lot of things that you and I have talked about on the side that The overall product for WWE, I just feel isn't there. Everyone's too worried about their own branding, their own trying to make sure that everyone's maximizing their dollar. I don't feel as if they're doing what's quote unquote best for business. They're doing what's quote unquote best for their individual brand. I mean, how do you feel?
You brought up some very good points that I forgot to mention. The ticket prices, Vince McMahon wanted people. I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, the people who watch wrestling the most diehard. I mean, we're not the richest group of people. Like we're blue collar for the most part. We're like to just watch people provide entertainment for us. We want to go to the shows. We want to be able to shout whatever we want, right, within reason at these people. Um, you know never put it past a business because if they're there to make money, right? But Vince was making money hand over fist without having to price gouge. And the problem with that then becomes, okay, you price gouge us now, but then that's the end of the fourth quarter. And then the first quarter comes back around and you got to beat the previous quarter or else you look bad. So why not steadily increase that and be able to build your value that way versus just charging astronomical things. But at the end of the day, we vote and our voice comes with our dollar. If people are buying these seats, they don't give a crap if they're on their phones the whole time, even though it ruins the show. They don't give a crap if they're not talking or they're not participating as a crowd is supposed to in a WWE event, which is why the foreign crowds or the non-US crowds are way better these days because they're happy to be at the event and they're getting every dollar that they had. But speaking of WrestleMania ticket prices and speaking of having kids and having to make that decision, we have C-Rod, who not only went to WrestleMania last year, but also has children. And now he's stuck making decisions that he wouldn't otherwise have had to have made, even if his kids are big into wrestling or not. C-Rod, take it away. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting because everybody's making a big fuss about the WrestleMania tickets right now. I, I want to tell you that they are literally the same exact price as they were last year, which was outrageous last year, but I feel like nobody made a big deal about it. And I don't know why. I don't know what changed because I went last year. I went on Ticketmaster. I bought the 2 day. I bought the pre-sale. I went on to the Ticketmaster this year. I clicked my exact section, row, seat, what have you, and it's the same price. Which is mind-boggling because I paid almost 1,500 for one seat for 2 nights in the 100 lower bowl, but nobody made a big stick about it last year because I think everybody was so inundated with the idea of Cena versus Cody and is The Rock going to be there? And there were so many good storylines going into WrestleMania where I think it's changed now because they're giving this terrible product and they're, you know, the last time I was on here, we covered the ESPN app. We covered the WrestlePalooza hype. I watched WrestlePalooza live. Let's just say I didn't have the ESPN app. We'll leave it at that. But overall, it was a money grab. Triple H promoted it as the next WrestleMania, right? There's gonna be surprises delivered. It's a can't miss. Every single wrestler was on the ESPN circuit. You couldn't look at a sport and not see them promoting WrestlePalooza and the app. And then all of a sudden, what were the surprises? Stephanie getting into the Hall of Fame induction, and like you mentioned, LA Knight being the guest referee, but we didn't even know that until the match came out, if we watched on time like we were supposed to. And when you're hyping up these can't miss shows, and like Sonny mentioned, they don't care anymore, and they've literally publicly announced that they do not care about the fans anymore. Bruce Pritchard says we only make this product for the people that are in the seats. TKO comes out and they say Vince McMahon was not maximizing his dollar. We're going to bump it up 300%, and you know what? We're still going to sell out. So we don't care about what people say or the families that want to go because half of our floor and half of our 100 lower level are filled with celebrities now because we're putting UFC and we're putting sports and we're putting actors and we're making this truly about entertainment now and no longer about the family. So, all of that to say, when you make all of this hype and you underdeliver with a squash match, something we've seen on Raw, something we've seen over and over again, then all of a sudden people are going to be bringing up the prices. And when you say that, hey, we're going to price gouge you and we're just going to keep increasing prices because you're going to be there, it's just going to keep getting worse. But hopefully people start speaking up, and I wish people would stop going. It's always fun to think about a movement or to think about what the people would do, but let's be realistic. People are not going to stop going to these shows no matter what product is being put out there right now. It's too hot and it's too easy for them to sell out these shows. And the second that they took WrestleMania away from New Orleans and brought it back to Vegas, and the second they sold to Saudi for $250 million, like that was it. We knew that TKO is fully in charge of every decision that's being made, and it's like Sonny mentioned, how do we maximize the dollar? We don't care if we're rushing storylines. You've seen Cena get squashed by Brock and come back and have a redemption story. Well, you're going to see it again, but you know what? We don't even know if you're going to see it again because does Cena have enough dates left? Is Brock going to be his last match at Saturday Night Main Event where he gets that win? But we've seen that story before, and now they're just kind of putting things out there for the first the biggest viral moment, the biggest pop, and how can we draw more eyeballs from TikTok and Instagram and whatever app that we can get a reach on now.
Yeah, I mean the social media aspect, like and granted, the moments that stand the test of time, right? We'll go on YouTube, we'll watch, Rock versus Austin, WrestleMania 17. We'll watch Shawn Michaels super kick Ric Flair to end his career, sort of. But like they're doing this more for moments, right? And Sonny, I could tell that you had something to add, but the problem is they're getting paid already for these events, right? They have the ESPN deal. So whether they put on stinker events or not, if people are going to the seats, they don't lose any money for people not buying the ESPN event. That's ESPN's problem. That's Disney's problem. And we know they've got a bunch of problems right now. So it's complicated because granted they're giving us fans a lot of content, freaking 9 hours, sometimes 12 hours of content a week. And I'm not going to say that that's an easy thing to do. I get it. But when it feels like the quality of the shows is diminished because it feels like you're just trying to dangle that carrot and stretch out this stuff and just give us just enough to keep coming back. It's like very predatory in nature with that. And you mentioned the quality of the product. Like it's just very concerning. Now I'm interested to see how they can promote their events when Cena's not wrestling anymore because they've done a big job. They're trying to promote it more than they are trying to deliver. Granted, the last couple of events, SummerSlam and things, it felt like it wasn't the best. But then after the event, you're like, wow, that was a really great show. So they are obviously trying to deliver. The wrestlers and the talent are trying to deliver, even though WWE books things to be not every match has to be a 5-star match. Not every match, we want to tell more stories. We want to keep you guessing what's coming next because it is a year-long thing. It's no off season. Like I'm sure if this event led to the off season, Cena would have won. We could champion that for the whole off season, whatever, but we can't. And because of that, it feels like they're just crapping all over the fans. Now, Sonny, what were you going to say? C-Rob was mentioning the views and the clicks and stuff like that. What were you going to say?
Well, I think he hit on it perfectly. I feel as if so much of today's product is all about getting a viral moment. And I get it. I'm personally one of the people who I consume most of my wrestling by looking at the next day and watching YouTube highlights of what went on Raw the night before, what happened on SmackDown the night before. And there's a lot of these big viral moments, but then I watch that and then I go and I sit down and actually watch the whole product. And I feel as if they're constantly looking, trying to get that viral moment. The the art of, and obviously I'm no professional wrestler myself, but I've watched a lot of professional wrestling. And you go back and like I was telling you before, I'm turning into the back in my day kind of guy. And you watch guys like Austin and Bret Hart put on a match like WrestleMania 13. And obviously we're talking about one of the greatest wrestling matches has ever occurred. But there's no gymnastic style moves. There's no, I don't think they And I don't think they broke a table in that match. It was all it was wrestling, and it was one person against another person, and you watch this battle back and forth, and how it was like a slow burn, and how it built and it built and it built, and that's what made everything feel so big. Now you have wrestlers that every match they want to do some sort of moonsault to the outside. And what was it, Tiffany Stratton the other night on a with a match with Jade Cargill two. And that's the thing too, is that you have, probably compared to older wrestlers in like older days, you have better athletes today. You have absolutely, the talent now is just on a whole nother level than it was before. But what they don't get, I feel, is that they don't get the craft of telling a story during a match. Why is Tiffany Stratton doing a moonsault to the outside against this person, against Jade Cargill, when it's not necessary to do so? You're, as a champion, you're taking yourself, you're throwing yourself in a high risk maneuver as the champion. I don't get that. You don't, you want to hold on to the belt? Don't you want to like stay in the ring? Let her come back into you. Go out, roll her back into the ring. I just, the mentality of why they do certain things, I feel as if they're always trying to get the next viral moment. And maybe it's because they're reading their own press. They next day they look, ooh, how many views did I get on this move? Or what's my Meltzer rating? It didn't used to be like that. It was about telling a story in the ring and building up. Now, if Tiffany and Jade had been going through this feud for weeks and months at a time, and this was, quote unquote, as Cornette likes to call it, a blood feud, I get that. Like, you just want to, like, doesn't matter. You just want to take that person down. But this match didn't have that kind of feel to it. It was just one person going against the other person for the title. I just, the psychology behind it, I'm just not getting. And you're probably better to talk about the psychology portion of most of this, but just as a layman, as a common person watching these things, I don't get the psyche behind why they're doing certain things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Tiffany got hurt during that event too, which caused her to then miss her NXT stuff that she had to do. I don't know if it was specifically on that move. She is, I believe, an Olympic level gymnast. So that in and of itself is, I'm sure she's feeling confident, like I'll just freaking jump off and do it. Charlotte's been doing that to perfection, might I add. And yeah, they are looking for those viral moments. And honestly, it kind of goes back to WrestleMania moment, right? Like where you got to have your moment. Like Mick Foley didn't have his, and then he gets speared through the table, through the flaming table by Edge, and things like that. Like, and wrestling is about moments. It is, but they're not feeling as organic as they used to. They're not
Yeah.
feeling as natural. They are feeling more. And granted, we're not idiots. We know it's scripted. We know it's staged entertainment. We get that. But
Hmm.
you're clearly choreographing it, leading to some type of big thing. And again, we'll go on YouTube and I will watch, Logan Paul jump halfway across the ring and meet Ricochet in the middle of the ring doing the double clotheslines. I will watch these awesome things that bring the nostalgia back. Cena slapping Kurt Angle, ruthless aggression, all those things. Rikishi falling off of Hell in the Cell into the back of the truck. Like, can we talk? I mean, we're not going to talk about it, but one day we're going to have to talk about why we don't get the six best wrestlers in the company in a 1v1v1v1v1v1 free for all in a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So and Vince wasn't perfect either, right? And the reason AEW is even able to exist today is because of what was the dog food incidents and the suffer and succotashes and the Baron Corbin retiring Kurt Angles and those decisions. So he wasn't perfect, and we're not sitting. And obviously, as a human being, he's not perfect either. But nobody is. And but we've had that for so long, and then we switched to this. And I'm not even going to blame Triple H. He's not. He's not what Vince's role was. He's just doing the creative, right? Everybody thinks because he's doing creative and Vince did creative that Triple H is the CEO of the company. He's freaking not. The Rock is his boss, right? So the people that are hating on Triple H, you can have reasons to hate on him. You can not like him as a wrestler. You can not like his booking, but to act like Triple H is the like spearheading all this negativity. He wasn't that good in the ring, so he doesn't know how to book and stuff like. Bro, now you're just rewriting history and revisionist history. Like has no place in this country right now. We've already got enough stuff that we have to triple check sources right now, and it's difficult. And speaking of triple checking sources, right? Like when that thing came out about the Brock Lesnar match being changed last minute, whatever, it's like bodyslam.com, via whatever. And you trace the stuff back, and it's all just hearsay and rumors, right? Like it's staged. If you think if somebody, but if ESPN's like, no, we want to be able to promote Brock Lesnar, which I don't know why you would want to be able to promote Brock Lesnar over John Cena. Brock Lesnar's still got a little bit of a dark cloud hanging over him. Yeah, he's the baddest man on the planet and things
The
like
only
that.
thing, the only if I could jump in real, the only thing
Yeah,
that came to me about that is that because TKO obviously owns UFC and now WWE, you're looking at UFC, which is real fighting, and you have a former UFC heavyweight champion, and on ESPN's marquee first WWE event, you have a former UFC champion lose to a WWE scripted kayfabe champion. That's the only thing I could think. Maybe why TKO made it like that. I feel as if wrestling has always had this like we want to like we're scripted. Everyone knows that after Vince came out and told everybody, but it's like UFC is still wanting to protect themselves in that moment. And TKO is wanting to protect their UFC like brand in that moment. They said, okay, Brock, you're a former champion. Just come out and you demolish this guy. I mean, it's already happened before, but I felt as if that kind of played more in the narrative, whereas you had this doomsday like character defeating Superman Super Cena back in what was it, 2014 that they had that match? I don't remember, but
yeah.
whatever year that was, it was Superman finally losing to a Doomsday like character. But I feel as a TKO for this ESPN event was like, okay, we're gonna have Brock Lesnar come in and solidify UFC and put UFC over WWE. That's what I felt. It was UFC putting WWE putting UFC over in that event. That's the only reason why I can imagine them doing that, especially on such a marquee event. Wouldn't you want two titans to go back and forth? It made no sense as far as booking wise, in my opinion. No sense.
You know what they should have had? They should have had Cena still as champion get squashed by Brock. Brock takes the title
Yes.
from Cena. I know Gino hates all of this, but then Brock's able to pass the torch, maybe either to a new superstar or back to Cody. But I still just hate the way that they took the belt off of Cena
Yeah.
with Cody. And I
And
know
that's
Gino.
the thing, though. But ESPN obviously loves Cody Rhodes. Like
Yeah,
clearly, like he was given the title from Cena at SummerSlam and then left. Was written off
right,
television for a movie
right.
that we knew he was going to film.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Cena was still there every week. So it
yeah.
really made no sense why you would take the title off of him unless you've got like this all plans and you didn't want Lesnar to win that one. Cena's going for his 100th premium live event win, and they didn't really promote that going into it. And that kind of comes back to they're trying to dangle the carrot and stretch things out, right? Like they didn't, I don't even think ESPN realized that Cena was at 99. And I feel like maybe once they found that out, they're like, no, we didn't promote that enough. Lesnar versus Cena promotes itself. So let's maybe for AJ Styles' match, even though that promotes itself as well, they're going to think, will Cena get his 100th win? And I guarantee we're going to see that narrative being pushed. Cena's going for his 100th win, blah, 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 blah. When he like had a banger match with Cody, well, arguably one of his best, definitely one of his top 5 matches of all time. And then he had a banger match with Logan Paul, arguably one of his 10 best matches of all time, and then gets demolished. So, I would put dollars to donuts. He's going to have an amazing match with AJ Styles come Perth. And it's like Vince, for any of his flaws that he had, the one thing that is unequivocally undeniable, he is the world's best promoter. Period. End of story. His promoting of his events was what he was the best at. Was he the best booker? Maybe not. Was he the best storyteller? No. Was he the best boss? I don't think you find anybody that would say he was the best boss. So
That's
he was the
100%.
best promoter, and they are clearly not they're just saying, oh, you're going to have a bunch of surprises. To me, the biggest surprise of the night was hearing Paul Heyman's voice cut off the ring announcer announcing Brock Lesnar and his thing. That to me was like the biggest surprise. Obviously, Undertaker coming out, but you expect at least Undertaker to be at these events because of every time with the Netflix debut and with the Peacock debut and with the USA re-debut and the Fox debut and now the ESPN debut. Like when you have the debuts, you do expect some level of somebody you haven't seen before coming in. But and then they're announcing Stephanie going into the Hall of Fame. Totally deserved, by the way. But Stephanie's got her show, Stephanie's Places, on ESPN for whatever reason. And so obviously ESPN is putting forward the people that they either have ties with or what have you, or TKO is putting people ahead who they have ties with, which is odd though, because Cena's like the most famous person. Like, you could argue he's like the most famous person on the planet right now. He's got Peacemaker. He's on his retirement tour. He's selling merch left, right, and center. He's out here doing the shows. He's doing the Make-A-Wishes. All of these things, and it's like, nah, it's not good enough. Let's have because Brock is a better fighter in the ring. Like that's the same level of thought process that Goldberg has. It's like if I could throw you into the second row, you should never beat me. And I'm younger. I'm old enough to remember Rey Mysterio beating Mark Henry, The Big Show, and Kane in a 3-on-1 handicap match because it's freaking wrestling, darn it. And
that's why you tune in, man. That's why you tune in.
Exactly. So I will put like a solid amount of money down that you're going to see this 100th career premium live event victory being promoted as soon as they start doing the build, which will probably happen on SmackDown once AJ Styles comes out and talks about, I get to beat up John Cena again, which was some of the best stuff we've had in the last 10 years is AJ Styles saying, we're going to beat up John Cena. I'm going to go out to the bar, going to come back again. I'm going to beat up John Cena. Like that stuff is awesome.
We're not going to see Cena until the match, which is
right.
How do you build up this match? You just have AJ talking to himself, or are they going to keep tweeting at each other?
Well, I will say this with Cena's, since he's been back, they have had multiple builds to his matches where he either it wasn't there or he wasn't talking to his opponent, or it was Cody one week, Cena the next week, finally build up. Then Cody doesn't let Cena say anything, blah, 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 blah. I mean, realistically, every show that Cena's not on, he should be doing some via satellite stuff.
Yeah.
Period. Like,
that'd be great.
because whether you're filming a TV show, filming a movie, freaking at your house, you can record something, right? And so that is, and they obviously knew that the dates were never, like he was never going to be booked for these dates. So that coincides with United States fans not getting to see him. And it just feels like, I'm not saying TKO is anti-United States, but the United States viewers, us as Americans, we're the ones freaking suffering during this, which is why if you VPN and go to Canada with it, like, or wherever the closest country is to you, like, if SmackDown is when it's filmed overseas to do that, I'll be able to watch it at 8 in the morning on Friday instead of having to wait until USA Network airs it. And so there are all these things that some of them are great, some of them are not great. But like you said, how they're going to do the build. Well, AJ Styles is obviously going to come out. He's going to talk about, well, it doesn't matter that my storyline has been fighting Los Americanos or whatever, and Dominic. I now get John Cena, which obviously, like, you freaking drop everything when somebody says you get to fight Cena. So, like, I get that. But we're not going to have it. And if they don't have via satellite stuff, because they don't want to count it as dates or whatever, it just feels like we know it's coming to an end. And there's still so many people we want to see him fight. And C-Rod was upset that we had Sami Zayn taking one of those dates, but theoretically, Cena wasn't going to wrestle. So at least we got a match out of it because Cena appears on shows and just talks in the opening segment and then is gone or has a small little look at, R-Truth doing the mirrored hit, which is freaking great. And back when we were growing up, and I know we're not that old, but you had Stone Cold on Raw and SmackDown. You had The Rock on Raw and SmackDown. You had Triple H on Raw and SmackDown. And, well, maybe not SmackDown. He didn't really like to work Tuesdays. But you had them in multiple segments throughout the night, which leads me back to WrestlePalooza, where you have Brock Lesnar be first, and then you book the WWE Championship at the end of the night, and we're all expecting something to happen, and nothing happened. Even when the lower third, Triple H has conditioned us to see his name pop up and see the lower third graphic, the show's ending, whatever the trademark, and then CM Punk comes out or something like that happens, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So why have that match close the show? I get it, it's for the WWE Championship, but as Raw has showed us, literally 2 nights ago, you let your storyline and the story you're telling take precedent. Something happened after that match on Raw, which set up stuff, and that made it the sense why it was the main event when Uso versus LA Knight could be on any premium live event of the last year. So it's like all these types of things are going into it. Brock Lesnar should have come out and destroyed both of them, but oh wait, we've got Crown Jewel, and we need to build the champion versus champion. I didn't even freaking remember that those rings existed and those titles existed. So what does that mean? Cody has to be in this because he was the champion from last year? Like, especially with Survivor Series around the corner, we used to do champion versus champion at Survivor Series. We got AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar at a Survivor Series because of that. Like, and now they're taking that away and they're transitioning Survivor Series into War Games. Like, what are we doing? I was never a big fan of Survivor Series. Everybody, when was the last time we had a 5v5 Survivor Series traditional match on Survivor Series? We haven't in years. So it's just all these types of things, whether it's TKO's fault or whether it's not, there's obviously this push to draw as much money out of the fans as possible, and we are running out of time, but this just reminds me of what's going on with AMC theaters, particularly. I don't know if you guys are going to the movies very often or not, but instead of giving fans a good experience when they're there, they give us 30 minutes of commercials for something we're already doing. Like, come to AMC theaters. I'm literally here. And a big podcaster that I listen to equated it like this. If you're going to give me an ad to watch something that I'm currently in your business doing and watching, that's like showing a girl your Tinder profile while you're actively having sex with her. It doesn't make any sense. You're trying to take more money from the people who are showing up and giving them a worse experience than you are trying to get people through the door. So there are two ways to make money. You get more people through the door at decent prices, or you try and price gouge and borderline non-consensually take advantage of people for coming into your thing. Now, it was interesting that you brought up the WrestleMania price tickets because I haven't heard anybody say that they were similar to last year, and I do truly believe that. But yeah, now everybody's making a big deal out of it because it's like the cool thing to hate on what's going on. But at the end of the day, like we have been inundated with such great things, and now it feels like that's all being taken away from us for no fault of our own. So with
I
that
think
down,
it comes back to the product has taken a dip. Last year's prices after a WrestleMania 40 that had honestly probably one of the greatest WrestleMania endings of all time. I mean, you expected something of that level, and then you got
right.
What was his name? Travis Scott
We're not
walking down the
gonna.
ring.
We could rant all
Oh
day on
my
that.
goodness.
We do have less than a minute, so I wanted to say thank you to C-Rod, thank you to Sonny for showing up. We will be back next Wednesday to talk more about this. We could make this a two-parter, but thank you so much, guys.